Welcome back to the Theologeeks podcast. My name is Ben Knight.
I'm Rob Royce.
And you might hear a little bit of, we'll call it ambient noise.
That's fair.
Is that fair?
Sure.
We're at the church recording in Rob's office as per usual. And he just got done with
except that it's not our usual day.
It's not our usual day. It's a Tuesday morning. I had to take a day off, and so this just worked out really well because the last couple of weeks we've just had, Rob's been super busy. And
I was out of town even.
He was out of town, so we couldn't record on Saturdays.
No.
So we're just making it work. But today, right after Rob's prayer meeting,
Bible study,
I'm sorry.
Yep.
There's also a women's Bible study going on. It's right behind us.
They actually call it Moms and Me. It's and I don't think it's, you know what? It's not a Bible study, and I don't think actually any, or at least many of the ladies who come are connected to our church. It's something that was started, I think, by a lady from our church who just gets moms and their kids together, even just kind of a way for moms to have other moms they know, right?
Just coffee talk,
yeah,
like hang out, and that makes sense because there's a lot of
here's my telephone too.
Telephone. See, there's all kinds of
ambient noise.
We don't even have to do this in post production. It's just happening around us.
That's right.
No, there actually is a thing called Mommy and Me.
Yeah.
That other places do. So I think that's cool. I think it's important to, especially for the church. I think anything that we can do as far as just reaching out to the community, it doesn't have to be like, hey, we're inviting you to praise and worship with us. And they're like, yeah, but we don't praise and worship. It's like, well, no, if you guys want to come hang out and have coffee and donuts and we'll talk. And
there is one thing that I have noticed just in the various ministries I'm involved in, and that is people really do seem to get the EBGBs about stepping into a church building.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's funny because, if you're not a Christian, a lot of people, and where we live,
mm-hmm.
maybe it's a little different because, like for me, my father-in-law, not a Christian, has no problem walking to a church.
Okay.
No problem at all. Like he was here, he was here for, my kids and your kids as well.
Yep.
We're in the Christmas program here. He came right in, sat down, he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
He talked with people, whatever. And, and that's, some people are more like that, but you're definitely right where.
I don't know if it's just a social environment they're afraid of, or if there's actually something about the church. I just know that we see little kids, we see youth group kids get dropped off at the front door, and this look on adults, whether it's their mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, there's a look on these adults' faces like, I ain't going in there.
I have to imagine it's a combination of two things.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I think it is. I think first of all, I think they are, they can feel it. Like they know, like they're like, maybe it is, maybe it is something spiritual where it does affect them. Where like, they feel convicted, and so they're like,
their
well, I don't.
Soul staring back at them.
Yeah, and then maybe it's a combination of that, and then it's just I don't want to go in there. Some Jesus person's going to talk to me about,
Oh yeah, yeah, and I think anything that we can do that, if that's a barrier, that's an artificial barrier. Maybe the conviction's not, but to have a blockade in their own mind in front of that church door, anything that we can do, like this Moms and Me is a great way to get some people who are, if they were ever to be invited to a service or something where we're actually maybe going to address something soul related, they're used to being here. And to me, that in and of itself, maybe just a little tiny bit is a win.
Well, because if there's comfort there. They walk in, they feel comfortable, they feel embraced, they feel welcome.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm sure around here, or not even just around here, in every church, that's, the very first thing the pastor says is welcome, good morning.
Right.
Welcome, be welcome here.
Yeah.
Like you are welcome here.
That's right. Like
it doesn't matter what your thoughts on, whether you're a Christian or not, whether you believe in a God or not, like you're still welcome.
Absolutely.
Like, this is a place where, it's to me, and we won't get into it because we could probably do 20,000 podcasts on just millennial behavior or whatever, but this is truly a safe space. Like this is a place where all are welcome here.
That's true.
And so it's one of those things where it's not an artificial. It's not like okay,
not all things are affirmed here.
Correct.
That's different.
And that's very different. Exactly. That's very different.
When we say in church, we're glad you're here, we really are. That doesn't mean everything you believe is regarded as correct, and you're not going to get a pat on the back for all your behavior.
No, not at all. But yeah, in a nutshell, and again, we're telling people things they might already know,
right.
Of course, but yeah, you are all are welcome. Like you are a child of God, whether you believe in Him or not. You were created in His image. He wants you. He that's how it is. So yeah, you're welcome. Like Rob said, what your belief system or your non-belief system or just your general behavior, whatever, may not be acceptable necessarily.
But that's not ground. We don't ground that in the way that we are. Like, hey, we've decided to be this way, and therefore think we're better than you. It's grounded on something far more significant, eternal. A pastor that I follow, he says, when somebody asks him, how do you react to people of an alternative lifestyle or an alternative belief system? How do you react when they come into your church and want to participate with you in your ministries in your church? How do you guys look at that? And I think he had it exactly right. He said it depends on if you're coming into our church fellowship or our building. Are you coming in as an apostle or are you coming in as a refugee? And you think about the difference between those. An apostle is somebody who spreads the message about. So are you coming in, let's say you thought that everybody should turn their lives over to Hershey's Chocolate Company. And are you coming in saying, I think this church needs to turn its allegiance over to Hershey's Chocolate Company? That'd be an apostle. I'm just using a ridiculous example. Or are you saying, for some reason in my head, I think everything is about Hershey's chocolate, and I think I need help? That's a refugee.
I got to be honest with you, though, like, as heretical as this might be to say, I could get behind that religion.
Hey, look at me. I'm probably already behind it.
Although although honestly, like, if given the choice, like, I'm not a huge chocolate person. Like, if you were like, all right, so we're going to build a religion around barbecue or steak, I'm like, man, I might have to look into this to see what it's all about.
Sounds good.
Is it? Yeah, because I mean, it's like, okay, so for communion this morning, we're going to be having Diet Coke as Jesus' blood, and as His body, we're going to be having sirloin. Like, sweet, let's do it.
But that, along with any other apostolic ministry, aside from the real gospel, Philippians 3:19, their end is destruction, their God is their belly, and they glory in their shame. And so that's why, if I were to say, why don't we tolerate all lifestyles and all opinions, it's because of that. The end is destruction. Little theology for the theology.
No, hey, there's nothing wrong with mixing it in as we're getting going. But so here's something interesting. So we just, switching gears here, so we've talked about on the podcast, Rob drinks coffee.
A ton.
So we've even had it's not a sound effect. It is literally Rob pouring coffee. Even though it sounds like he's peeing, and it always makes me have to pee.
I'm not sure. Should we get a recording of that just to compare?
We should actually.
No,
we should. And no. If you peeing,
not for the
no, not for the podcast. Like,
wow.
We'll A and B it. Which one is Rob peeing? Which one is Rob pouring?
We
coffee?
are going in a different direction.
No. So I'm desperately trying to cut down on my pop drinking, and so I'm trying to drink coffee. And as I was explaining to Rob, like, I love the taste of coffee. Like, I love tiramisu. I love drinks like a hot chocolate of some sort or something that has a coffee tinge to it. I like that. But most coffee is a little too sour for me. It's just not, I don't like that. I don't like that bitterness. Bitterness. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
And so maybe it's just I haven't had the right coffee. So I looked into it. And I was trying to find a cup. By the way, anyone listening to this, if you know of a coffee company, we free stuff's cool. Or if anybody wants to sponsor the podcast,
for sure.
We're all about coffee now. And so I looked into it, and I found this company called Volcanica Coffee. I believe that Volcanica. Volcanica.
I love that name.
It's a good name. Well, so I'll give you a little background here. I'll give you a little snippet. Let's see. I'll just give you a little bit of the who are we. So Volcanica Coffee Company, or Volcanica Coffee LLC, is a specialty retailer of exotic gourmet coffee committed to offering only the finest quality from volcanic regions around the world that is wonderfully exotic and remarkable in taste. We carry over 120 different coffees, including single origin, estate, pea berry, decaf, and flavored coffees. Now, I know a little bit about, do you know about pea berry coffee? That's like spendy, like super, like that's high.
That's probably why I never heard of it. I think I'm a coffee connoisseur. It really only has to do with the volume I drink, not
the volume,
not the level of exposure I have.
The quantity, not quality.
I know what I like. It probably has to do with just the. It's not the range of a true connoisseur knows everything about everything. I just like what I drink.
Well, and so I'll finish up with it. So they fresh roast on demand in their state-of-the-art roasting facility in Atlanta. Our experienced roast masters understand the nuances and delicacies involved in roasting different varieties. We work directly with coffee farms and local cooperatives and travel to the remote coffee farms to source the best of the best and ensure top quality. And this is what kind of jumped at me, and I wanted to order some coffee from them. So they're actually an organization. They say we are an organization built on Christian principles and donate 1% of our sales from our website to the organization. And I don't know if it's a charity for water. It's just charity water. But charity water or for water is on a mission to help bring clean, safe drinking water to every single person on the planet.
I'm familiar with that as a mission.
Yeah,
thing
I've heard of them before. So basically, what they do is they raise money for different types of water projects, wells, rainwater harvestings, piped water systems, biosand filters, and then they would just work with local partners to build sustainable water projects. So it's in developing countries. So it's just kind of a cool thing, and so I thought it'd be fun on the podcast. And actually, Rob and I did an unboxing video for both of us, a very first.
Yeah, I've never done one.
And we'll probably throw it on YouTube or on social media or something. But we thought it'd be fun to try this coffee and just just talk about it on the podcast to start out. And I kind of wienered out a little bit, like I told Rob, because I was like, I don't know if I can just do a straight up like dark roast or something,
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try something different. So they had a blend called caramelized chocolate. So we're going to go. Rob opened the bag and it about knocked me over how good it smelled.
Uh-huh.
So we might have to, here in a minute, we might have to go grab it and try it.
I think this might be that minute.
Is it that minute?
I'm pretty sure.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll start talking about coffee and other things.
Yeah.
So let's go get some coffee.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, so we did a unboxing video, which neither you or I have ever done.
It's true.
And now I guess the other big thing out there on YouTube and on Vimeo and all this stuff
you see them all the
reaction
time.
videos.
Reaction videos.
Yeah.
It's true. So we won't have a reaction video, but we will have a reaction audio. So let's see let's
if that wasn't gross to everybody.
us slurping on coffee.
Well, no, I hate mouth sounds.
Well, I'm intentionally doing it because it's theater of the mind. See, you gotta.
Oh. That's what this podcast is now. It's just sipping our wonderful coffee. So it's good. It's really good.
So here's
Volcanica.
Good job. Well, okay. So I'll give you here are my 2 cents as somebody who's not a big coffee drinker.
Yep.
First of all, right off the bat, it's not bitter. It's not bitter at all. Like right off, there's a tiny bitterness at the end, but I think that's with I've never tasted a coffee that didn't have that tinge, just that little bit at the end, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's very smooth.
It is really smooth.
It almost has a cream. I think it has a creaminess to it.
I'd agree.
And we didn't add anything to it. It's just water and coffee beans. The caramel and chocolate. The smell is definitely there. The smell is.
You don't taste that as much.
You don't. Hold on. I gotta take another drink.
Like you don't taste that in the aftertaste. You might when you're drinking it because of the aroma.
I think there's a hint.
Okay.
Like I can taste there's a mocha type flavor, maybe a little bit. If you let it sit in there, it's very hot, so I'm trying not to let it sit in my mouth too long. There's definitely, and in the aftertaste, like I said, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the smell plus the taste. Maybe the smell is giving more of the caramel taste. But overall, and Rob did make it. He made it somewhere between what they recommend and what he would normally make coffee at. So
and there is a big difference between those. And if anybody ever catches the unboxing video, I talk a little bit about that. My coffee, people criticize me because of my coffee because of how strong it is, and because if I follow the recommendation on the boxer bag, I find it to be too weak. So I kind of went in between. Ben is.
I think we probably could have went a little stronger.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's weak. It might just be the flavor, the specific bean, but
it doesn't look weak. I mean, it doesn't
No,
have a
it
coloring
doesn't.
like it's
No,
weak,
the
so-
coloring is not weak at all. My thought on it, I mean, like I said, I don't. I mean, for the most part, I love the taste of coffee.
Yep.
I think we established that. I actually like this coffee.
Yeah.
I think I might have to add like a little, maybe a tiny bit of cream,
Okay.
maybe just to kind of like. I don't think it needs any. I don't think it needs any sugar per se, which milk is going to have a little bit of sugar in it anyway.
Right.
But I mean, just a touch of cream might be really. But you know what? Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
Of all the coffees I've had in my life,
Yeah.
and I don't drink a lot of just straight up coffee. I just
Yep.
don't. How do we want to do a rating? If we're going to be rating coffees,
I don't know. I mean, I'll say, okay, here's what somebody who evidently they know about the coffee process better than I do. And in fact, this guy, it's my wife's best friend's brother. He actually spent some time like in Colombia or Guatemala or something, actually farming coffee beans and knows a thing or two about this stuff. And he told me once, and I think it's true, that the higher quality the coffee bean itself, because they're higher quality, the higher altitude they are. This company's thing is they farm them in volcanic soil, right? And so that somehow must be associated with their quality level. But he told me that the higher quality the coffee, the closer to the front of your tongue you taste it. Whereas if it's a low quality coffee bean, it gets you in the back part of your throat or on your tongue right next to your throat, which is where you taste bitter. That's the bitter sensation that you get, right? And so the higher quality the bean, the closer to the front of your tongue you'll taste it. And so I'm tasting this. So as far as a rating system, I don't know how to rate it except for what he told me, how the tongue scale, right? How close to the front or how far back on the tongue are you tasting it?
So on the tongue scale, what are you giving the Volcanica?
It's about a mid-mouth. I'm tasting it fairly close to the front of my tongue, towards the front of my mouth, compared to coffees that I normally drink. I drink a lot of coffees that I don't get a taste until it's back there. And I'm fine with that because, like you said before, evidently I'm not a high society connoisseur.
I gotta tell you, I just took another drink. I actually like it. It has a very comforting is not the word. It has a very satisfying. Like once it goes down,
yeah. Like
it's nice in the mouth, but once it goes down, it's very like it sounds really dumb, but it's very satisfying when it goes down your throat. It's almost like a throat coat. It's like a throat coat tea. It's very nice. It's very smooth. I don't know. So here's what I'll say. We'll call it the 5 bean system. I'll call it the 5 bean system. Out of 5 beans, I think I'm going to give this. Like I said,
you're shooting in the dark a little bit because
I am shooting in the dark
because we're not comparing it to another coffee today, and Ben is not normally a coffee drinker.
I'm going to give it 4.2 beans.
4.2 beans.
Because I think here's what I'm saying. As somebody who doesn't really like coffee, it's incredibly smooth. There's almost no bitterness to it. I really like the smell. Like I really like the aroma. I think it smells fantastic. It smells like if you were to walk into any, whether it be Starbucks or what, any big chain or small chain or mom and pop, like it smells like you walked into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the color. I think you did a good job about. I think maybe a little bit more than they recommend. I like that idea because I like you can tell right away if a coffee's weak because you're just like there's no color to that at all. Or it's very light, very light.
This
brown.
is a full body. This is a full body brew. Like we got coffee in there.
But that's the thing I like about it. It doesn't have a well, and maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm not a connoisseur. It doesn't have a dark roast taste per se.
Right.
Did
it say dark roast on the package?
I don't know. We'll have to look, but to me it tastes like a light roast. Or it has less bitterness and more of a taste of a light roast than it does of a dark roast. But it's clearly, it's very dark. But I don't know. Yeah, I really like it. I'm going to give it 4.2 beans.
4.2. Okay.
And don't feel bad. Don't feel bad if you don't want to. You rate it exactly what you need to rate it. We're not. This is not insulting to Volcanica.
I'm going to be really close to you, and we're talking out of 5, right? Because I do drink a lot of coffee, and I do drink a pretty okay variety on the cheap side. I'm not out there trying to find But I'm going to totally geek out here for a second. And how much of the rest of the podcast we get to, I have no idea. We're obviously just geeking out today. And maybe that's okay.
We're having fun.
Yeah,
it's all right.
It's just a conversation about coffee.
About coffee.
But, do you ever get that? I brought up Hershey's chocolate before, and I didn't know that was going to come back in, but here it is. People always talk about, this high-quality Italian chocolate that costs, $50 an ounce or something, and you expect that it's going to be this amazing tasting chocolate. I've never tasted anything in my life.
You taste it, and it's like worse than a semi-sweet morsel.
I actually, and it's branded. It's milk chocolate, and it's all the things that you like, and I, when it comes to all those fine upper high society brands and all that stuff, I'd actually rather just have a Hershey bar. And is that totally hick of me, or does Hershey sell more of it than everybody else combined, because they actually have a handle on how to make it?
I think it's, first of all, anybody who's listening from outside, by the way, I'll have to look it up later. We have more outside countries listening to the podcast, so I was going to bring that up too, but I forget.
And I'm not meaning to insult any country because of their chocolate.
But here's the thing, though. I think, first of all, we're Americans.
We are.
And so we're very used to Americanized things. Like Italian food, I would venture to say, and this is a blanket statement, but I would venture to say that maybe 95% of Italian food in America is not Italian food.
Probably not.
Like Olive Garden, not Italian.
I'm guessing not.
I mean, most Italian food is based off of oils and vegetables,
herbs.
Like they don't do cream sauce. Like a cream sauce is not Italian. That's American. So, I would just have to assume that we're just so used to very Americanized products. Now, I will say this: the first time I tried a Toblerone, I loved it.
Sure,
I was like, "Oh, that's really good chocolate. I really like a Toblerone."
Who are you?
We are the Swiss. We are here to tell you Toblerone was 3D first.
Invented in 1908.
I find that hard to believe.
Do you want a Toblerone?
Ooh, 3D chocolate.
Then say it. Toblerone was 3D first.
Toblerone was 3D first?
You win the prize!
Yay!
Give me some
but
Toblerone,
I've had
Daddy.
something happen where you're somewhere like a very specific store or something that's more, it's more of like a world food store or something, just where you find different things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've gone to an Asian market. I'm like, I should get that. Because first of all, hands down to Asia. Like first of all, like, Japan, China. Like first of all, like everything they make looks super cool. Like their packaging, like it's always like bright and it just reminds me of like the old Batman show where it was like bam pow, like it's just how it but yeah, I mean sometimes I'll try something and just go, I think that's the worst part of it too. I think that we have such high expectation going in because it's like, oh, this is the best chocolate ever, and it's made from the water of.
Well, and granted, I don't know what I'm tasting for. Like some chef or something might say, well, here's the cocoa flavor that it's like. All I care about is whether or not I like it. Mm-hmm. And so if you're giving me a fine chocolate from this weird corner of the world that they've been making chocolate since the 5th century, and they've got am I going to like it better than a Hershey Kiss? If I had a bowl of these or a bowl of Hershey Kisses, which one am I going to take? And normally speaking, I would take the Hershey Kiss. So maybe coffee is a similar thing where all I know is what I like. And so I'm going to give this one a rating based on what I like and how this one compares. And all I've got is that standard. I'm not saying that, this isn't measuring up because it doesn't have the oakiness.
Yeah, this is.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
We're amateur.
Totally.
Amateur ratings.
I'm gonna say 3.8.
Okay.
Because and I'm thinking maybe I'm not sure what I would grade out of 5. Let me just say I'm looking for the 5.
See, and that's and the reason mine is a 4.2, and this is not in any way because first of all, it's good coffee. It is good coffee. I will say that
for sure.
So for me, I'm giving it a 4.2 because in my experience of all the coffees that I have had, I dislike them so much that this is kind of a breath of fresh air for me. So, and we're not going to throw anybody under the bus. but there are very American companies who make large quantities of coffee that are just. I don't unless I put like a half a gallon of milk and like 27 sugars in it, I just can't drink it.
And that's kind of the measure is if you're putting that kind of stuff in your coffee, it means you don't like coffee, I think. People who know me as a coffee drinker have heard me say that I'd rather have bad coffee than no coffee, and generally speaking, that's true. So I'm giving this a 3.8. I would say the one that I like the best out of everything, like if I go to the store I want to go to, get the brand I want to get, in the packaging I like to get it in, and whether it's already pre-ground or whole bean or whatever, I would probably put that in expectation that there is a 5. I'd probably put that at a 4.5. And so I'm not saying that that's my standard, that's a 5, and then I have to increase the scale when something knocks my socks off. And I will say this is interesting because the one that I would get more than anything else, the one I would prefer, like the one that would get that 4.5 for me, is a generic store brand. Like Walmart has their store brand,
like Sam's Choice,
something like that. And I'm not going to say which one it is, but it is a store brand version, and I think it's just great. And so to me that was a surprise that I like that over these other ones. But this is, I'd say, is a 3.8. I was going to say something else and I forget what it was.
Well, here's what I'll say. I've taken another couple of drinks now that the coffee has cooled down quite a bit, and I actually like it more now.
When it's cooled?
Yeah, I think it's now I can, maybe I don't know if you can, maybe I actually
taste more of that flavor.
I taste more of the flavor.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna stick with my 4.2 because I actually like it now. I'm about halfway through. I'm drinking out of a very large coffee. For me, that's a very large coffee cup. I'm about halfway done. I just took another big gulp, and I like it even more now. You can actually taste. So I don't know if maybe that's what it is too. Maybe in future tastings, maybe that's part of it too. Maybe we need to let it sit for a while.
I'm okay with it hot.
Okay, because like this tastes to me, this tastes even better now. I can taste more of the chocolate and a hint of the caramel after letting it sit for a while.
This scale's going to get crazy because there might have to be a hot scale and a cold scale because even this coffee that I'm talking about,
that's good.
The 4.5 one that I'm talking about is better hot than cold.
See,
as it cools, it gets less palatable. And this one, if this one gets do we go?
I don't know.
Gonna be a crazy scale.
I think overall, I think I give this a 4.2. I really enjoy it. I really do. I really enjoy this. I think this is fun. In fact, actually, anybody who's listening, if you know of a coffee company, if you run a coffee company, we would love to try your coffee.
Send us something.
Like, we love coffee. Rob loves
You're getting
coffee.
to love coffee.
I'm getting to.
I will drink the coffee.
I'm actually getting. It's so funny. I'm actually getting excited about this. I like this coffee. I'm gonna say it. I like this coffee. Volcanica, good job.
I remember what I was gonna say. Even if your coffee comes in at a number 1, you can almost be assured I'm going to drink it. The stuff that I did have coffee earlier this morning, but it was that one that comes out of that thing that I was talking about. I was talking about it on the unboxing video, not on the podcast, about how we have here at the church, we have one of those machines that just, you put that big syrup canister in there and then it adds hot water and it's basically just coffee flavored. It's a coffee flavored drink.
It's probably basically like gas station coffee.
Yeah, and I would rate that at a 1 or less. Like if our scale is from 0, it's probably a 0.8, and I drink tons of it.
In fact, here's I'll put this out there. We will not. In fact, actually, if you send us your coffee or send us coffee, which I'll just throw this out there as of right now. Hold on. You hear that, people? That's Volcanica in a cup. No, and actually, I'll throw this out there for right now. So, right now,
hear the kids in the background.
I can hear them. So right now, if you want to send us coffee, this probably won't be the permanent one, but you can send it to P.O. Box. Well, you know what? We'll come up with we'll message people. We'll do that. We don't
message us. We'll message you.
We'll message you.
And by the way, our at least on our Facebook theologeeks page, it still says that we respond to messages very, very fast.
Very quickly.
And that must be you because I haven't been doing that.
I'm all over it.
All right.
So I mean, if you know of a coffee or you want to send us some coffee or whatever, we will rate it. And here's the thing. I'm going to throw this out there. we will not rate your coffee below a 1.5 because you sent us coffee.
You get an automatic 1.5.
You get an automatic 1.5, which doesn't sound great. But then again, like I said, there are a lot of you're not alone. Most coffee drinkers that I've talked to say, like, they don't necessarily like. First of all, most coffee drinkers I talk to have never liked coffee, or they didn't like coffee. They just started drinking it,
right? And
then they began to like it.
Yeah.
But for them, they're in the same boat as you, where they'll drink, what we would probably equate to like sewage, and they're fine with it because and they prefer it over a high end of coffee because that's just what they know.
Or bad coffee over no coffee, and the Michelin star. Everybody knows about the Michelin stars for restaurants, right?
Michelin guidebook.
Yeah, and the star rating that they have is a 1, 2, and a 3, and a 1 is it's worth stopping. 1 star means it's worth stopping if it's on your way. Yeah, definitely see that restaurant on your way. It's worth stopping for. And if you could relate to coffee, if somebody usually you go to a restaurant, if you're the kind for breakfast or whatever, I'll order a coffee. It's not really going to matter to you when you're ordering it that this is a good coffee or not. It's like, I'm here for the coffee. So I'm going to have coffee with my breakfast, and whatever you bring me, I'm going to drink. Michelin number 2 means it's worth going out of your way while you're traveling to go to that restaurant. So that restaurant's a half hour off your travel plans. Go to that restaurant. It's worth it. That's what they're saying. So I don't know how we'd relate that. It's like, well, I'm going to go to that restaurant rather than that restaurant because I like their coffee there rather than the one over here. The third Michelin star that they give is it's a destination restaurant. The reason you're on that trip is because you're going to go to that restaurant, which is like way cool.
Well, in this,
I don't know what kind of coffee that would be.
Well, and if you think about it, if you put our 2 reviews together, that's an 8 out of 10. That's a pretty high. That's a high bar.
This is good stuff. And like I said, listen, I'm still trying to think about how the Michelin star. I guess if I could relate that, the one that I like to go get is I'll try to think of other things that I can get at that store, while I'm there because I'm there to get the coffee.
Yep.
Right. Similar kind of rating. Yeah, we're 8 out of 10. We're a 7 point. No, we are.
No, we're right at 8.
We're
right at
rated 8 out of 10.
So Volcanica, thank you. And again, if you guys want to send us coffee, we will talk about it on the podcast. We'll blow it up.
Maybe not just coffee. If somebody
or anything like, hey, if you make alpaca sweaters, I don't know if you
we'll unbox it and review it.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, here's the thing. Our Instagram and Twitter has been blowing up lately, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for that.
I don't understand any of that stuff.
So, but we love all the comments and we love that you guys are listening. But anything, like, we're happy to, if you want us to talk about your thing on the podcast, whether you're a t-shirt maker or you do coffee or whatever, what we do that.
We want to see it.
We want to see it. We like
totally
stuff. But anyway, we better move on because we're holy moly. We're like, what are we, like a half an hour in? And we're coffee heads today.
Unless we want to edit, which we typically don't. By the way,
no way.
We're
gonna share. We
reserve the right.
I'll say this real quick before we move on. I actually got a message from somebody that said, "Hey, is there any way that you guys can do your podcast longer?" And I go, go back and listen to the first couple. I don't know if you want to say that.
Been there.
But it was actually our buddy from Missouri.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, well, because this guy really likes your podcast, and I think it was one of the ones that was like 58 minutes or something like that. And he goes, but he works, he's a farmer, he works in a tractor, so he was really into it, and all of a sudden it's over, and we're like, well, maybe we'll see. I think we're still going to try to keep it a little lean.
I know we've got some people listening who are truckers,
farmers,
but then I've also heard from a couple people that said that by the time they had to turn off whatever they were listening through because of what they were doing, we were only half done. We're getting mixed messages all over the place.
Yeah, so we'll just try to keep them lean and mean, and we'll just they'll be what they are. And
eventually, there's going to be enough where you can just go on to the next episode.
Exactly, or just go back and be like, you know what, I want to go back. I think I remember Rob talking about blank, and I want to hear that again.
If you just like listening to us, for whatever reason, I like listening to us. That's why I'm sitting here. I like Ben. And
I like Rob.
Nice.
We like each other.
And I what do you think about throwing in some left to center archived old podcasts?
We might have to go through the archive and see if maybe we can
just we don't have to say anything about them like, oh, we recommend them or anything, because maybe we do, maybe we don't, maybe we're embarrassed by them, but here they are if you want to hear more.
Maybe what it is, maybe we finally need to get the website built and just throw them up there. That way people can access them at their leisure.
The thing that I'm most afraid of about doing something like that, though, now that I've brought it up and recommended it, is that somebody's going to say, do you know you guys rehashed the same things on the Theologeek podcast that you did in the... I don't know if we did or not.
I have no... at this point, I can't remember. That was years ago now.
It was years ago.
I can't remember.
My Left of Center podcast mug, through which I'm drinking this Volcanica coffee, says 2014 on it.
Cheapers.
If you were to have said, hey, when did we do that podcast? I'd have said, 3 years ago.
Wow, it was that long
6
ago.
6 years.
Cheapers. Well, so we'll throw that out there. But before we throw anything else out there...
Oh, we got to throw out there the top 10.
Top 10 list. All right, so because we love doing top 10 lists, these are the top 10 things we obviously shouldn't do, but we do it anyway. So I'll just throw it out there. So let's see. Can you guess number one, Rob? The number one is probably it's the most, to me, it's the most obvious. It's the obvious thing that we shouldn't do, but we do it anyway.
Are we talking about morality? Or are we talking?
No, just like things that like. So I'll tell you number one: leave the toilet paper roll empty. We've all done it, right?
Yeah. Here, I'm right.
Are you writing stuff down?
Of course.
No. Here's this one. This never used to bother me as a kid, of course. Like, whatever, fine, it's gone. As an adult and as a parent,
yeah.
And it's funny because this happens to us all the time. Because we'll be in the house and I'll get a text and I'm like, oh, who texted me? And I'm like, it's my wife. And she's like, need toilet paper. I'm like, okay, I'm on it. So that's a big one. Does that happen a lot in your house?
No comment.
I was gonna say you've got boys.
No comment.
Happens all the time. All right.
Because if they're listening, I want them to know more than anything else, Dad loves you. And we'll talk about this at home.
So here's what's funny. My in-laws have a sign in there. So they live at the lake, and they've got a downstairs area, and in the bathroom it says, changing the toilet paper roll will not cause brain damage. So I always make sure I change it. But that's a big one. Here's one that I struggle with my wife.
Okay.
Constantly. Pulling into a parking space, unsure if you're going to hit the vehicle next to you, but you keep going anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do I write that down?
Do you remember? Because like, so when you're pulling in and like, because I never do that, or I don't do it anymore. Like if it looks like I might hit the car next to me, I just back up and I try it again. But my wife, she will. Luckily, she doesn't listen to this. She will every single time. I'm amazed that I don't have like the butt of Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime when he was working out all the time, because my butt clenches so hard. Because my wife gets car sick, so she drives a lot, and so we'll pull into Walmart or Target or
pushing her
whatever.
Luck in there, huh?
And dude, I'm not kidding you when I say that a majority of the time, she is like 2, maybe an inch away. I mean, just so close to just. I'm just like, oh my gosh! But like, do you ever do that? I have done that where I've looked and I'm just like, I'm pretty close, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
But it's not, for me, it's not normally a parking spot. Sometimes it'll be like if I have to flip a Yui on a street or something, and there's a car parked over on the other side, and I think I've got enough room, and I do know what it's like to go. I'm really not sure. I'm just gonna go for it.
You're just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna interrupt the top 10 list a little bit. I'm gonna come over here.
Get you some more. Hey, that's pretty good. This is a big cup.
See, and this is the thing. Here's the thing.
More for me too.
If anybody can actually hear me right now. I don't like. I've never liked coffee. I've never liked to drink coffee. This is good. I'm on another cup. I like this coffee. I'm a big fan.
You might have to bring it up to a 4.4.
Oh, maybe. So number 3, put an empty jug, box, container of food or drink back into the fridge.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of this a lot. I don't like it about myself. sometimes I do it because I think it's funny. It's not funny. Well, my wife will tell you it's not funny. Or just I don't know. Have you ever finished the milk and you just for some reason like there's even less than like a tablespoon of milk in there, but you still put it back?
Yeah, I tend to be the one who I'm the opposite of this one in my house where somebody has to catch me and go, "No, there's still plenty left." It's like, really?
Really? Because if I were to empty this into a glass, there's not even enough here to like there's not even a drink.
Right.
There's nothing left.
Like right. If there's like it's for us it's cereal box.
Well, and my wife is guilty of this. So in my opinion, so when we're done with dinner, now, first of all, I love leftovers. I think leftovers are fantastic. In fact, some stuff is even better leftover than it was when you made it, first of all. But I'm a firm believer, like, if there's only, like, a bite left, or if there's only, whatever, just, I mean, there's a tiny, not even enough to have, like, not even a meal, but, I mean, it's just not even worth having it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll throw it out. Like, I don't think that's wasteful, but I'm just like, there's literally 2 bites
left.
left.
Be realistic about it. Like, are we really gonna? If I put this back in the fridge, am I really gonna take it out and microwave it? Or
because like first of all, I look at it and go, I'm not going to do it because there's no way. Like, there's not even 2 bites there. Why would I do that?
If you think it's waste, just think about if it goes into the landfill, some animal out there is gonna eat it. Something's gonna eat that animal, and the animal's gonna, eventually the circle of life. We sing about exactly. We sing about these things here.
Sort of.
We believe in this.
We believe in the circle of life. So yeah, I don't know. I'm guilty of that one.
Okay.
Number 4, I am not guilty of, and as a parent of 2 children, this one drives me up the doggone wall.
Let's do it.
You don't flush the toilet.
Oh.
This one bugs me. This one bugs me a lot. Well, and it's funny. It's funny because I have a 4-year-old daughter, and she's hysterical. And oh, you know what we didn't even talk about? This might just be an entertaining podcast. We forgot to even talk about something else, but we'll bring it up in a little bit.
Geeking out.
I have a daughter who, like we mentioned, the toilet paper roll being empty. She will empty an entire brand new toilet paper roll just to go pee. And
I think that has to do with being 4 or 5 years old.
And that's 4 or 5 years old. But she's funny, and because like it drives me crazy when I take the kids to. And here's the thing. I can deal with my 9-year-olds, or my son will be 9 next month, and I do make it a point to where I'm like, I'll do it in front of his friends, I'll do it in front of relatives, because I want to impart upon him how important this is. And I'm like, hey, Rye, did you just go to the bathroom? He's like, yeah, Dad. I'm like, well, just so you know, there was some poo stew left in there, some poop soup. You might want to go take care of that. And he's like, Dad. I'm like, go flush the toilet.
You're a good dad.
Because like because I'm like, dude. Well, because like first of all, could I just flush the toilet? Yes.
Yes, you could.
But I need to impart upon him how important it is that he knows, like, dude, you cannot leave your waste for everyone else.
This goes long enough. It's going to be you can remind him that if his girlfriend uses the bathroom next, he's going to want that gone.
Which he's 8, so if he has a girlfriend, that's a whole other thing.
Saying,
but
if he doesn't get a handle on this soon.
Exactly. He's going to be like 16, 17 years old, and you're like, dude.
I know exactly what you're talking about here, but my daughter is 8 years old, and she's starting to get into that age where she is dainty. Where
your daughter is very dainty. She's adorable.
She's built that way anyway because she was born premature, so she looks that way. But she's starting to kind of she's mindful of the things that would be proper, and it's the cutest thing.
Oh, she's very. I had a blast. We'll talk about we'll talk about it in a little bit. But
okay.
But yeah, the whole not flushing the toilet thing, that drives me up a wall. And you know what? There's some people that live by the. You've probably heard this phrase. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. I don't live by that. If there's anything in the toilet, like flush. Well, here's the thing. I will wake up in the middle of the night, and like the way our house is, our bedroom is right across from both of our children's bedroom, and the bathroom is not that far away from those bedrooms. So at night, if I have to get up and pee, like I won't flush the toilet because I don't want to wake them up.
Yeah.
It is loud, so I'll do that. But the idea of just going and then just leaving it there, I'm just like, how hard is it to just flip the little silver handle?
And there's a difference between whether or not. What a topic. There's a difference between whether or not you have you're on the city sewer system or you have a septic tank.
That's huge,
That
too.
could influence that decision big time.
Yeah, if you live out in the middle of nowhere in the country and you have your own septic system, like that's
I
bad
guarantee
news.
that's where that term came from. Maybe even especially as septic systems were just starting to come on, and maybe they didn't have the I don't know, pressures or whatever dictates that you're venting or whatever, and there was a real value to like getting that right. You don't want to get that thing wrong.
No, you're exactly right. You are exactly right. Number 5. Here's a big one for me that I've learned I control it when I need to. Overeating. We know we shouldn't do it, but and again, you can talk about gluttony. I don't think I'm gluttonous. I think there are times like we'll talk about.
Oh, we might be. I mean,
well,
if there's one thing that we would it would be a good sin to admit to often is, and it's not just on food. It's we glut out on just about everything.
Well, and I wonder, is it a sin so for me, I don't lie about it. Like I'm the first. So like the other night, the Super Bowl was on.
Yeah.
And Rob and his family came over, and our buddy Bo came over with his family, and there was a lot of food.
Well, for sure.
There were sliders, there was cheese dip, there was meat, there were meatballs, there was all kinds of. And I did overeat a little bit. I was feeling a little.
Well, okay. Let's get into a little theology here. Just
here we go.
Bit.
All right.
We know that gluttony is one of those 7 deadly sins that wasn't actually in the Bible, right?
Nope.
It's attributed, like we could go back into that list of things that are people think are in the Bible but aren't. Gluttony comes from Dante wrote about it in Purgatorium, and it's extra biblical. Probably a very true thing that if we're gluttonous, should we beat ourselves up about it? I think this is a lifestyle sort of comment. Are you glutton? And we are in America. We overindulge. C.S. Lewis writes about how to have pleasure in something and then to immediately demand that pleasure again. There's something obscene about that, and he has a lot of really great insights in a lot of different books that he wrote about that. Ben's got one of those by his elbow on my bookshelf. But yeah, but overeating, the Bible also talks about feasting. That there is a definite, we come together and there's plenty, there's an abundance. There are theological parallels to being glad with the abundance, because the Lord provides in himself an abundance of, you have prepared a table before me in the presence of my enemies. We have a song, Guide Me Now, O Great Jehovah, and the last line of the first stanza is, feed me till I want no more. And as a glorious expression of trust in God, gratitude to God for providing. Overeating, sinful, I don't know if I would say it's sinful in any more than the things that we generally do are done in typically neglect of God, typically not respectful of our bodies, generally wasteful, things like that. It's probably sinful in that regard.
Well, does it become more of a sin if you are, if you're so like for me, like I'm the first one to admit it. Like if I overeat, I'm like, oh boy, I really overate.
I don't think it's a sin as in you're eating, and then boom, you cross the line, and now you've overeaten, and now
well, no, but
it's a sin.
is it more of like if you're denying the fact that it's even, or like if you're like, no, I'm fine, like we're, it's a weird way to go to, but like an alcoholic who's just like, I don't have a problem, does it become more of
I think there can be, if you're in denial about having succumbed to like, and there are people who eat for all kinds of different reasons. There's people who starve themselves because they want control. There's people who eat because they want control, and eating is just a symptom of a deeper issue, whether it's a psychological issue or a moral issue. Eating can be related to a moral issue, whether you're starving or whether you're eating. And so, but the eating itself, I don't think you could point at that and say, like I said, if you use it as a scale of, I'm just sitting here, I'm at a pizza buffet, and I'm having pizza because that's the thing I wanted to eat today, and then suddenly I've overeaten. I don't think the overeating becomes a sin that's different than eating before you were overeating was a sin. 1 Corinthians says, whether you eat or drink or anything you do all to the glory of God. That would mean that if you don't eat or anything else that you do is not to the glory of God, then we're in a state of sinfulness already. Because we have forgotten God. God says that if you forget him, he will destroy you from off the face of the earth, and there'll be none to remember. I think that's Psalm 50. And so there's very, very strong warnings to not neglect God in any aspect of your life. If you remember God in every aspect of your life, you probably won't sin against him. Psalm 119. I've hidden your word in my heart so that I might not sin against you. And point being, we do it all the time when we're not doing things for God's sake. So overeating, if you're overeating, you might be feasting. You might be feasting unto the Lord, and you might be fuller than full and go, man, the Lord is good.
I say, if that's the case, I am glorifying God all the time. so that's pretty sweet.
So I would say let's not beat ourselves up too much on the overeating aspect, as in I was not sinful until I overate, but beat yourself up plenty over the fact that we typically are neglectful of God in our life.
Well, and in case anybody's curious, so like the modern concept of the 7 deadly sins is actually linked to the works of the 4th century monk Evagrius Ponticus, who actually listed 8 evil thoughts. So originally it was an 8, and I won't get into it. That's just a little information to throw out there, because I think I don't know if this is correct or not, but didn't it go from was I suppose with the Greek, because I associate it with more of Catholicism. Is that?
Well, it's associated with the church because at the time the Catholic Church was all there was.
Yep. Okay. Exactly. So that makes sense. All right.
So you couldn't say, well, it was a Catholic thing, not a Lutheran thing. Well, there was no.
Right. That's just all there was.
It was just the church.
Gotcha.
So it was associated with the church. I think Dante was obviously Catholic or whatever, and so it's a list that's very similar to biblical lists, very much in the spirit of the biblical lists against sin, and the Bible has plenty of them. In fact, we're talking just yesterday, I think, about doing a ultimate top 10 list someday.
We won't get into it, but yeah, an ultimate top that one's going to be killer.
Point being, the Bible likes these kind of lists, and the 7 deadly sins fits right in.
I don't know if the Bible's digging this one too much, but we'll see. Well, at least we
did theology.
There's some theology there. Number 6. This one I'm ashamed to admit I am guilty of. My son is way worse. Drop an ice cube and just kick it under the fridge. I have done. In fact, actually, I'm guilty of this as of like yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. But I was getting ice out of the fridge, and just like the tiniest chip, I'm not going to kick a whole ice cube under there because I'm like, well, that'll mess up my floor. But like it was just a little tiny shard, and like my wife, she watched me do it. And it's funny because I don't like, first of all, I've been married for almost 11 years now.
Yeah.
I don't lie to my wife anymore. and
idea.
And when I do it until, or I do it where she'll ask me before I can even answer, and she knows that I'm just being
she says
facetious.
Did you just she knows you just
because she knows I just did it. And that happened the other night where like I was having a cup of diet squirt because I like it. It's tasty. Grapefruit. Love it. No, but a little shard of ice fell, and I just in my sock feet, I just kicked it right under the fridge.
Right.
And I don't know. Are you guilty of that?
Guilty.
Look, there's shame on your face.
It might not be the fridge. It might be the dishwasher. It might be just
under the sink.
Baseboard of the
just wherever I can find. Just like, that looks good. Woo!
If it's a whole cube, I'll pick it up.
Okay, but if it's a shard. So I was trying to think of
this is a weird list because I think you were going to have a whole bunch of people going, no.
So if it's,
I don't know. I don't do that.
If it's a cube,
you totally do.
If it's a cube, get it, dude.
Yeah, you totally do.
If it's a shard, ain't that hard.
This is you know you do it list.
Exactly, very much so. Okay, here's one where we'll see if Rob will admit to it. I will fully admit that I have done this. I think we've all done it. If you haven't, it's like
look at the time.
It's like, okay, first of all, it's like first. I have a friend, and I'm gonna call him out because I know he listens to the. I won't give out his last name.
Okay,
but JD, you've done this. Everyone's done this. You've picked your nose and you've eaten a booger. That's not on this list, but I'm just saying this is just an example. But number 7 is pee in a pool. We've all done it. Rob, don't you lie. You've peed in a pool. Have you peed in a pool?
Isn't it? Didn't you have places to be right
He's peed in a pool. Aha. No, but this is one. I'm an adult now, so I don't. I have not. Like, if like first of all, even if where we live, it's all about the lake.
I think it's you think about all the animals in that lake. I mean, I'm not talking about just fish.
No,
muskrats.
I've peed in a lake. I'm more apt to pee in a lake than I would.
I have no problem with that.
I have no problem peeing like everything. Like lakes, if you really break it down, lakes are disgusting. Really, in the long run,
I would have no problem just telling anybody, just go use the lake.
Just go use the lake. That's what we tell our kids. Like, because when we swim at a lake, they're like, I need to go to the bathroom. It's like, just go back in the lake. They're like, that's disgusting. I'm like, really? Can you imagine what's in that lake?
Yeah, I mean, the animal life around it. There's no way. That's okay. A pool though.
I'm an adult now. I don't need to do that. Like, if we take the kids to a water park or something like that, I get out, I go to the bathroom, and I'm very clear to my kids. I'm like, do not pee in the pool. I
have a story, and there's a group of guys that I hung out with when I was my late teens. Probably into right up to the time I got married. Got married when I was 21. And this story that I'm about to tell, I promise, this is true of this group of guys in the year leading up to the time that I met them and started hanging out with them. But they kind of had this thing where they would go and use one of these guys as hot tubs. They do it like 3 times a week, right? And I came in on this group at the end of that fad. Wasn't really our thing at the time that I came and was hanging out with them. But they were under the impression when they first got the hot tub that the filter of the hot tub filtered out that. And so they thought, oh, it's okay.
Just that, right, specifically?
Because the hot tub filters and it just recycles the clean water and gets rid of that. And they were wrong.
Wow.
So
I don't even know what to say because I'm like, how, like just like a hot tub would just know like that's like it's like meh, meh, meh.
No, it just takes care of it. They really thought it just takes care of it, and it just and the water when it comes back in through the jets is all just purified water somehow because it's filtered. It takes care of that.
It's okay, Rob. We have filtered the urine.
It doesn't take care of that.
No, not at all.
But we're talking about 3 or 4 guys who, for a year of using this hot tub, thought it did.
So there
was no longer a hot tub. It was a hot toilet.
My goodness. So so you guys are just soaking in each other's urine. That's disgusting.
I am glad to say I came in after that had already been discovered. And I wasn't, when they say, hey, Rob, you want to come over and hot tub? It's like, I like being invited.
Thanks for the invite. I'm going to hang out here.
I think I did maybe go twice, but they had promised me that they'd already figured out their farce.
So I'm hoping for anybody who's ever seen the movie Grown Ups with Adam Sandler, like, so in that movie, like when they go to the water park, and it's something that parents told their kids this for years because I heard it when I was a kid. Like if you pee in the pool, there's a chemical in it that turns it blue or whatever. And so we use that now. So when we go somewhere, we go to a pool, we tell the kids, like, do not pee in the pool. If you do, it will turn it green or purple or whatever, and then everybody will know that you peed in the pool, and they're like, oh, I better not do that then.
Somebody told me once that strong chlorine smell we usually associate with chlorine is actually the chlorine mixing with body fluids.
That's not true.
Okay.
So as somebody I'm going to geek out on something that because I do it. So part of my job is I actually take care of our drinking water or our water, so I have to. Chlorine is something we add to our water to make sure it's clean. So chlorine already has that smell to begin with.
Good.
But here's a misconception. So when you go to like a public pool or something, and that it's that really
burns your eyes,
your nostrils. You're like, my goodness. It's because they're using way too much.
Oh.
Because once you use, it's literally like 6 parts per million or 8 parts per. I mean, it's not nearly as much as people think you need to use. So when you see people putting tons of chemical in there, like, first of all, once you've used the certain amount that kills whatever organisms you're trying to kill, it doesn't matter how much more you put in there.
You're not going to kill anymore.
You're not going to kill anymore. All you're doing is just making it to where it's going to burn your skin or give you a rash or just smell like crazy. Yeah. So it's actually very little.
So it shouldn't smell that strong.
It should not smell. Like, if you pay attention to your water, like if you were to go home today and like really put your nose into your water, you might smell a little bit of you might smell like for ours, occasionally you can smell the chlorine. It's not a bad thing,
right?
It just means that's just part of the water.
It's getting rid of stuff you don't want to drink.
Exactly.
You might not want to drink chlorine, but the stuff it kills, you'd rather drink the chlorine.
This is what I'm saying.
All right.
So number 7, if we can say anything, like just don't pee in pools or in hot tubs. Apparently,
it does not filter it out.
Does not filter it out. Number 8, lie. Shouldn't lie, Rob, but it's something we all do. I don't either. Here, okay. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you? Because I am guilty. Well, I wouldn't say I'm guilty of this. I think sometimes it's the right thing. I'm not saying lying is the right thing to do, but I think white lies in certain aspects are the better way to go. I'm going to give you a prime example, and I think Rob's probably going to have a verse about this.
I do.
So for me, the very first time I went to Christmas dinner with my grandparents-in-laws, my wife's grandparents, it was for Christmas dinner, and I see cheesy potatoes, and I beeline right to those cheesy because I'm a big. I make what are called harvest potatoes, and I'm not afraid to admit that I make dang good harvest potatoes, and so I beeline to the potatoes. I scoop out like half the bowl. Like I'm so excited. Like my whole plate is just filled with potatoes. I am so stoked. And plus, anybody who knows me, I'm a little, when it comes to other people's cooking, it can take years for me to eat it. Like I'm that guy that like when I go to take a bite, I put it in my or I put it in my mouth and I put it in my napkin when I put the napkin because I have this weird phobia or whatever. I have to know people for a long time before I'll eat the food, even if it's like the most amazing food I've ever seen. But anyway, long story short, I sit down and I start scooping the potatoes into my mouth, like so excited. I'm like, oh, cheesy potatoes. And instantly, what I was putting into my mouth is not what is in my mouth. Like what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
It was, I don't know if they just, last minute, she ran out of cheese or whatever the heck happened. But it was literally just hash brown potatoes mixed with cream of mushroom soup.
Oh, wow.
Awful. Okay. Not cool, man. Like I don't like cream of mushroom soup anyway. But that's all it was. It was just those two things mixed together. And I had this giant plate of potatoes, and I didn't know what to do. And so like I'm like slowly.
Keep going.
I know, but I want people to get the full effect.
This is good coffee. This is like
I really like it.
There's not enough for you, by the way.
That's all right. But so anyway, so I'm just trying to find a way to get rid of them. After a while, I'm just like, okay, I can't hide anymore in my napkin. Like the leg area is getting like greasy because I can't put any more potatoes on the napkin. And finally, I'm just like, okay, I just got to try to sneak to the trash can. And so I just fold up the plate and hide it the best I can and go put it in the garbage. And she was just like, so how are the potatoes? I'm like, they were so good. So good. And I felt horrible, but I'm like, in that instance, I think that was the right way to go. If I were to turn around and go, that was pretty much the worst thing I've ever eaten in my life, I would have hurt her feelings. And especially when it's not like my family, I could be like, that was awful. And they're like, yeah, it was, wasn't it? Where, I don't know, my wife's family, I was just getting to know them. We weren't married yet. I just like, I better.
Well, I will say this, that the only reason a person would ever lie is because they perceive that they're going to be better served by doing it. And you always, everybody's confronted with that, does this look nice?
Does my butt look big in this?
We all know the situation where the truth, I don't want to say so much that the lie is the right way to go, but there are certainly times where we are put in positions, and I'm going to say it that way, we've each been there where we've been put in a position where the truth is not going to work right now.
Nope.
But when it comes to whether or not we actually should be lying to one another, I'll just share some Bible.
I have a feeling you're going to go with Leviticus on this.
Yeah, it's Leviticus 19, 10 through 12. And I think we're going to get the sense of context into what kind of lie are we talking? Are we talking about does this look nice? How do you like my hair? Did you go over on your calorie count today? There's
that's a horrible question. I hate that question.
Things of that various nature, and there's a lying or truth is connected to something a little bit more substantial in Scripture. And here's what it says: "You shall not strip your vineyard bare, Neither shall you gather the fallen grapes of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the sojourner. I am the Lord your God. Then it says, you shall not steal, which is obviously one of the 10 commandments. You shall not deal falsely. You shall not lie to one another. You shall not swear by my name falsely and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. We're talking about, dealings. We're talking about measures. We're talking about, I'm going to sell you 12 things, but just as you're taking it, I'm going to sneak the last one away so that you actually only have 11. That's just a really severely oversimplified way of saying that. Outside of that, in Colossians 3, it says, do not lie to one another, seeing that you have put off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self, which is being renewed in knowledge after the image of its creator. So if you are put in a position where I'm looking at that as I'm put in a position where I have to lie in order to maintain my vices, then you shouldn't do it. I mean,
Nope.
The truth is an awesome way to get out of the things that you're kind of ensnared by. If you're whatever it is, if you are overeating, if that is you're secretly going to the fridge because you're trying to control that aspect of your life and it's a sinful thing that you're doing, hey, just tell the people the truth. Hey, I've got this problem. And that kind of destroys the problem in a sense. You're dragging it out into the light and you're beating the capital HE double hockey sticks out of it, quite literally. And that could pertain to if you're involved in an extramarital relationship, or you're even toying around with somebody. You tell the truth about that. Did I see you talking to that lady? Well, no. But hey, if you were, and you really did have some sort of payoff you were hoping for, whatever it is, and your wife or somebody who's watching out for you says, did I see something fishy? It is best to just come out with it, just like Colossians said, because you are not that old creature anymore.
Well, and even if you are guilty, or I'll use quotations, guilty, like I said, if you were talking to somebody, and it could have been of innocent in the world, but if the fact that you're trying to hide it automatically sends a red flag, where it's like,
it should, because in that sense, should we lie? When the Bible puts this big thing, do not lie to each other, it's doing so to look after our souls, to look after our reputations. And I don't think it's connected so much to how much sugar did you just put in that cereal? I think those are or you're protecting somebody else's feelings. Or let's put it this way. If it really was you lied, it is therefore a sin. What if some little girl comes running down the street, comes to you and says, I need you to hide me in your house because that man is coming after me and I don't know what he's going to do. And, oh, yeah, go in there. And that man comes to your house and says, did a little girl just run by here? Is she in your house? You're not going to go, I don't know. I cannot tell a lie.
Yeah,
she's right there.
And first of all, you don't know what the circumstances are, but my first impulse would be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you have to lie to that man.
Because even if the little girl, let's say the little girl in this instance, let's say she something, like, let's say maybe like she stole something from somebody and it was like the shop owner.
Right.
You'd be like, okay, well, you don't know, but in that instance, just your common sense would go, okay, well, I need to get rid of this situation between me and him, find out what the heck's going on, and then resolve it as it needs to be. But yeah, just to go, but you don't know what the situation is, so just to go, yeah, she's right here, man. Like, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
Back to the scenario, if you have to conceal a little girl in your house, now let's say it's not you, because everybody who's listening might go, just stand up to the man, Rob. Like, obviously, but what if it's my wife? And there's some great big brute man who's obviously angry at this little girl, says to my wife, is she in there? I want my wife to say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Like,
go run the other direction.
Yeah.
And so there are cases where I think that lying is not only okay, but it actually might be necessary. And the thing that the Bible's talking about is not just a straight up, oh, you lied, it is therefore a sin. I think it's I lied so that I can continue in my sin. I lied so that I could gain an advantage over somebody else at their expense. That's where it becomes sinful, and the Bible's saying don't do it. But I think, yeah, if we're talking about have you lied, yeah.
And
have I lied for all the reasons that I just shot at? Yeah.
Well, so like, I mean, if and men, let's let's set an example. If your wife goes, "Hey, did you take out the garbage?" Just say no. If you didn't do it, just say no, and then go do
when
it.
she says, "Does this make me look?"
Yeah.
What's number 9?
Deny till you die. No. Number 9. I'm not very guilty of this. I have a feeling you are not guilty of this.
Let's try it.
Watch reality TV. I'm not. First of all, I've never had to keep up with the Kardashians. I've never watched a single episode of anything where the people are on an island doing contests. Okay. I've never seen Big Brother. I've never seen The Amazing Race. I'm like naming.
Well, I've watched reality TV shows, and the one thing that I can say, I don't think they're real, for one.
Reality is a stretch.
Well, and
semi-scripted. It's still scripted TV.
I think when it was first started, I think there was some reality to it. But one thing I will say, and this is it's addictive. Like, you really, they know what they're doing. The producers of the TV show know that they've got you, and if you're watching on a streaming service, you got to see what's going to happen. You gotta.
Well, it's because I mean, first of all, there's a reason. I mean, how often have you watched a show where they leave you on a cliffhanger and you're like, "Come on!"
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I mean, reality TV knows how to do that. They're like, they're like,
they
okay.
get you to care about the characters. I mean, if we're talking about, does American Idol count? Does yeah, I don't know. I think this one belongs on the list.
Well, and I'm trying to look it up real quick. There was one that I actually really, really liked. What was it? Is it Making the Band? No, it wasn't Making the Band. There was one, I can't remember if it was on VH1 or, you know what, I'm not going to look it up. I can't remember if it was on VH1 or MTV, but it was like or maybe it was called Supergroup, but it was Ted Nugent. It was, I'm going to brain fart all the name. It was, Scott Ian from Anthrax. It was basically like these 5 guys. I think it was a guy from Biohazard. It was basically making a supergroup out of like these, really popular late 80s, early 90s bands. I thought that was super cool.
Huh.
Well, and I'm kind of really into that. Anytime it's like musicians getting together to hang out, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch that. That's really cool. But now,
so you caught the taste of, this is sucking me in.
It is, and I like that because, but first of all, I've never seen The Bachelor. No idea.
Well, I can relate to this enough to know that the producers know what they're doing. There have been a couple shows here and there that have got us. Me and my wife, we've watched them.
We've got more ambient noise. I hear a train going by.
It's a busy day here. It is
a crazy day today.
Tuesday, I usually say is my busy. Even then, Ben and I say, "Hey, do you have time?" I'm like, "Well, I have time up until this point," and that's going to be true here actually pretty soon. So what's number 10?
Pretty quick, yeah. We better move along. So here's number 10. This is probably the most minor, which is why it's number 10.
Okay.
Leave the power on when not using a device. This is okay. Here's what I'll say. Whenever we're going somewhere, we're usually always late, and it's my fault in as much as I have to go back in the house, check every room, because it always happens. Every light is on in everybody's bedroom. The bathroom light's on. My wife is guilty of this. So she'll get out of the shower. She's got the fan, the exhaust fan going in the bathroom, leaves it on every single time. And so what'll end up happening is I'm having to shut off exhaust fans, lights.
Is exhaust the right word?
I don't. Maybe that's not the right word. What would you not
exhaust sounds?
What's the right word? I just usually say fan.
Bathroom fan.
Bathroom fan. Exhaust fan. We like to park our car in the bathroom.
Or that's what we're doing in there, I suppose. Sometimes
it's true. There's gas going on, but I don't know. But it drives me up a wall because I am that guy where I do before I leave the house, I just shut off everything. Or actually no. When I leave a room, I shut the light off.
Sure.
I shut the TV off. I shut whatever.
We need guys like you.
I'm trying to. I want the world to be here for our children, Rob. So. I'm not nearly as guilty as this as my wife and children. I don't know. Is this something that happens in your house?
My wife has to charge one of my sons money for every switch he leaves on.
Nice.
It is not uncommon for us to leave the house. If we're going to leave for a couple days, we go through the house and make sure everything's off. But if we're leaving for the evening, we might come back and find that everything that can be turned on downstairs, because that's where he lives, everything that can be turned on downstairs is on. Every light switch, every bathroom fan, the laundry room light switch, which
every computer, everything,
the TV, everything.
I think I know which kid is guilty of this.
You probably are right. But he gets charged money for it, and he pays it because he does it all the time. My wife is going to make if my son had millions, my wife would have millions because
I was going to say,
does it.
You guys, you actually should. Do you guys put it in a very specific place? I would collect it just to see how much. By the time like when he moves out,
That's
you're
a good idea.
Like, holy cow, we made like $780 off of you because you couldn't shut off a light. I like that.
Shut off 8 lights. He couldn't shut off 8 lights.
That's killer. Well, here's the thing. So we're literally on. It might be pared down a little bit, but we're on like minute. We're approaching an hour and 15. So. Here's the thing. Episode 9 was going to be about, I think it's episode 9, whatever it is. We were going to start talking about a very specific topic and going into, but it's just way too important to do like 10 or 15 minutes on it and then move on. No. So this is just going to be kind of a fun, we threw a little bit, there's a little bit of theology within the top 10. We were able to.
That's who we are. It always comes out.
So here's what we're going to do. This podcast, this is going to be more edutainment. So it's there's gonna be more entertainment than normally we try to do edutainment. This one is more just.
There's quite a lot of toilet talk on this.
There's some,
and we're gonna be embarrassed about this one.
That sounds horrible. It's like
no, but it is.
Do you guys listen to that episode? Like just nothing but just potty mouth the whole time. Toilet talk.
I've got this all. I mean, number 1 was toilet roll empty. Number 4 was flush.
7 peeing in the pool.
Yeah, and then
Yeah, there was a lot of potty language on this one.
Yeah.
So we
cheap jokes.
Cheap jokes. Add the rim shot here. All right. But no. So next episode we might do a little bit of goofiness, but we'll try to get right into what we're talking about because I think that's and maybe this is something we'll start doing from now on is maybe we'll have just occasional podcast where it's if it ends up being that we're not going to try to do that, but if it ends up being this way,
well, I want to avoid that somebody has to wait an hour of this sort of thing to get into something substantial.
Exactly.
I'd rather give you an episode, all you listeners. I'd rather give you an episode that is substantial, and if you really like the goofy stuff, we've got a podcast for that.
Exactly.
If you like the serious stuff, we got a podcast for that.
Exactly. So this just happens to be one of those ones that
we didn't mean it.
This episode we're as deep as a kiddie pool, and that's okay.
I'm okay with that.
I'm all right with that too. So,
and in fact, I'm Rob Royce.
It's true. You are Rob Royce. But before he's ready to get out. We got to get going. We got to call it. But here's the thing, though. Real quick. We just want to let you guys know. Again, we've got the Twitter, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook. Please
use those.
Yeah, use those. Message us. If you have something you want us to review on here, whether it be coffee or your Etsy store or whatever, we're happy to check it out, and we're happy to take free stuff too. We like free stuff. We like coffee. We like sandwiches. I don't know if you'd want to send us a sandwich in the mail. Probably not going to eat that. But no, please follow us on social media. Please use our voicemail. We did get a prayer request this week. That's awesome. We did pray for you. I don't want to speak for. I definitely prayed for you, but we are going to keep a running list so that way we can just.
It's
refer
not that
to
I
it.
Didn't. It's that. You didn't share with me what it was.
I didn't share you. So from now on, we are going to have a list of every person, whether it's a screen name from Twitter or Instagram or whether it's your real name, but we will have an ongoing list of everyone so we can just continue to pray for you. But please use our voicemail, 701-214-6255. Big shout out to Volcanica Coffee.
Totally.
I loved it. It was good. 4.2 on the
12 cups.
On the 5. Oh, dude, it's so good. 5 bean scale, 4.2 from me.
Do you notice how much faster we're talking at the end of this podcast?
I did notice that, actually. It's like I'm a little caffeinated now. So I'm super caffeinated. I'm Ben Knight.
I am Rob Royce.